Imagine a man in a highly expensive, tailored suit, standing in a massive glass office in New York City. He smiles warmly, shakes your hand, and promises that if you give him your life savings, he will double it in a year. You trust him. Thousands of people trust him. But he doesn't actually invest your money. He simply takes the money from the newest people who walk through the door and uses it to pay off the people who arrived yesterday. It is an illusion. A house of cards. A Ponzi scheme. When it finally collapses, billions of dollars vanish into thin air, and lives are completely destroyed. We look at modern financial monsters like Bernie Madoff and we think of this as a modern crime. We believe that massive financial frauds were invented by greedy bankers on Wall Street. But this is a massive lie. The Ponzi scheme is not a financial invention. It is a deeply biological exploit. It is a psychological hack that is older than the concept of money itself. Long before stock markets, paper bills, or gold coins ever existed, the very first pyramid schemes were actively running in the freezing, brutal environments of the Stone Age. Today, we are going to strip away the expensive suits and the Wall Street algorithms to uncover the terrifying, primitive origins of the ultimate scam. We are going to explore how ancient humans ran massive, fraudulent economies using nothing but meat, fire, and psychological manipulation. And if you are obsessed with discovering the ancient, hidden software that still dictates our modern world, you need to hit that subscribe button right now. We decode the darkest evolutionary secrets of the human race every single week, and you absolutely do not want to miss the mysteries we uncover next. To understand how a caveman could possibly run a Ponzi scheme without a single dollar, you first have to understand the prehistoric bank. As we know, ancient humans survived the Ice Age through a biological system called reciprocal altruism. I hunt a deer today, and I share the meat with you. Next week, when I fail my hunt, you share your meat with me. It was an invisible ledger of debt. Our brains literally evolved massive memory centers just to keep track of who owed us favors and who was a reliable neighbor. Trust was the currency of the Stone Age. If you did not have trust, you would be exiled, and you would starve. But in every single biological system that relies on trust, evolution eventually produces a parasite. A creature that figures out how to hack the system, extract the resources, and give absolutely nothing in return. In anthropology, this prehistoric con artist is often referred to as the big man. The big man did not get his power by being the strongest warrior or the most successful hunter. He got his power through pure, calculated psychological manipulation. He realized that in a world where everyone is carefully tracking who owes who, the person who controls the flow of debt controls the entire tribe. Here is exactly how the prehistoric scam worked. The big man would approach a successful hunter in the tribe and ask to borrow a large portion of a recent kill, promising a massive favor in the future. The hunter, trusting the ancient biological system of sharing, hands over the food. Now, the big man does not eat this food. Instead, he takes that exact same meat and walks over to a completely different family in the tribe. He gifts them the meat, acting as if he hunted it himself. Instantly, the big man creates an illusion. To the second family, he looks like an incredibly powerful, generous provider. They now owe him a massive biological debt. He then uses the loyalty and labor of the second family to intimidate a third family into giving him more resources. He takes those new resources and pays back the very first hunter, adding a little extra to keep him happy. The first hunter thinks the big man is a genius. The second family thinks the big man is their savior. The third family is terrified of his growing network of followers. And just like that, the prehistoric Ponzi scheme is born. The big man produces absolutely nothing. He does not hunt. He does not gather. He simply moves social debt from one person to another, skimming power, status, and extra food off the top of every single transaction. He throws massive, extravagant feasts, using food entirely borrowed from other people, to project an illusion of absolute wealth and security. People flock to him, desperate to invest in his network, handing over their own hard-earned resources hoping for a return. He is running a massive social pyramid scheme, and he is doing it tens of thousands of years before the first stock market was ever built. If realizing that the darkest crimes of modern finance are actually just ancient evolutionary parlor tricks is blowing your mind, take 1 second to hit the subscribe button. Our community is constantly uncovering the brutal biological truths that history tried to hide, and we want you in the tribe for our next major deep dive. But just like the financial disasters on Wall Street, the prehistoric Ponzi scheme has a fatal mathematical flaw. To keep the illusion alive, the big man must constantly expand. He needs new investors. He needs to constantly borrow from new hunters and conquer new neighboring tribes to pay back the promises he made to his early followers. His entire empire is built on the assumption that the good times will never end. But the prehistoric world was incredibly unforgiving. What happens when a brutal, unyielding winter strikes? What happens when the migrating herds of animals simply do not appear, and the hunters come back empty-handed? Suddenly, the flow of new resources completely stops. The people who gave the big man their food months ago are now freezing and starving. They come to him, demanding the return on their investment. They want the protection and the food he promised them. But the big man has nothing in his hands. The food is gone. It was eaten months ago to buy the loyalty of other people, who are also now starving. The invisible ledger of debt suddenly crashes. The illusion of his immense power evaporates in an instant. And when a Ponzi scheme collapses in modern times, the scammer usually goes to a white-collar prison. But in the brutal reality of the Stone Age, there were no courts. There were no lawyers. When the prehistoric bank run happened, the investors did not ask for their money back. They demanded blood. The collapse of an ancient social pyramid scheme usually ended in sudden, violent revolution. The big man was exiled to freeze in the dark or simply killed by the very people he had manipulated. This ancient cycle of trust, manipulation, and brutal collapse is hardwired into the human genome. We are biologically programmed to want to trust our neighbors. We are programmed to look for generous, confident leaders who promise us a safe, secure future. And sociopaths, the modern descendants of the big man, are biologically programmed to exploit that exact instinct. When you look at massive modern financial frauds, fraudulent cryptocurrency empires, or charismatic leaders promising impossible returns, you are not looking at a failure of modern economics. You are looking at a million-year-old biological exploit. They are not using high-frequency trading algorithms. They are using the exact same psychological hooks that convinced a starving hunter to hand over his mammoth meat to a smiling stranger 50,000 years ago. The environment has changed. We traded the dark caves for skyscrapers. We traded raw meat for digital currency. But the human animal, with all of its vulnerabilities, its blind trust, and its desperate hope for a better future, has not changed one single bit. The scam is eternal because the human brain is eternal. So the next time someone in a nice suit, with a confident smile, promises you an impossible return on your investment, do not look at their credentials. Look past the suit. Look past the numbers. Listen to the ancient, paranoid whispers of your ancestors deep inside your DNA. Remember the brutal math of the prehistoric winter. If something looks like it defies the laws of nature, it is not a miracle. It is just another big man, playing a very, very old game. Thank you for exploring the dark, biological origins of modern deception with us today. If this video completely changed the way you view trust, money, and the people who control it, prove it by hitting the subscribe button and leaving a like. We are decoding the ancient evolutionary software running the modern world every single week, and we want you right here in the tribe. Until next time, guard your resources, question the illusion, and never forget where we came from.